We are back on NewsWire, welcoming in Warren Sharp. You find him on x.com at Sharp Football. Lots to talk about as training camps are underway. We had 6 teams, rookies show up yesterday, Warren. So getting a little bit closer, inching closer to when veterans start to report and we really get these conversations underway. But I wanted to talk about the NFC East with you. It is a division that, of all the quirky stats in the NFL, one of the ones that remains true season over season. And we have not had a repeat winner in this division since 03-04. We just keep rotating it 18, 19 years in a row now. What are the expectations that maybe we get a repeat winner this time around? It looked like we were going to have it last year, and then the Philly collapse made it not so. So do you like a repeat winner this season?
I don't. In fact, I bet some nice odds. I got like plus 230. I think you could still get plus 180 on it for the Philadelphia Eagles to finish in first place in the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys to finish in second place. Some books have the 1-2 exacta offering. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are more poised. I think one of the biggest problems for the Philadelphia Eagles last year, although record-wise, I wrote a lot about this in my book about how their season started compared to the 2022 season when they went to the Super Bowl. Both teams started 10-1. You say, hey, these teams are both on the right trajectory, same trajectory. Last year's Philadelphia Eagles looked almost nothing like the 2022 version. 2022 version, when I ran back my numbers on that team, you actually had to, like as we were analyzing the Super Bowl, when we were out in Arizona, I believe, we had to strip away their fourth quarters because they were leading by so many points through the first half and through the third quarter that they were just running the ball, doing nothing in the fourth quarter. So their stats looked like, oh, this team's a pretty run first team. But when in reality, they were a pass first team that was aggressively trying to build leads. They jumped out on opponents early. The 2023 version, last year's version of the Philadelphia Eagles, did not do that whatsoever. In fact, they were trailing more at halftime. They had to come back. They had to play all 4 quarters of games far more frequently last season. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, was their coordinators. Their coordinators, they lost both of them after they went to the Super Bowl. And so they replaced them in-house last season. Last season, those coordinators on offense and on defense did not do a very good job whatsoever. And so this year they went mercenary style. They went outside the building and brought in 2 hired guns. We're going to have a much more aggressive Philadelphia Eagles team this upcoming year, I think, on both sides of the football. And then Howie does what Howie does. He brought in some talent. He's got some better players there. They're a little bit more balanced. They have at least from a namesake, a stronger run game, a stronger run focus with Saquon Barkley there in the backfield to give that added threat. And this is a team that should be able to have better success. I think Jalen Hurts was a little bit banged up last year as well. So he's a little bit healthier, and they're just more improved at all levels of pretty much their entire roster, with one glaring exception, and that is along the offensive line where they lost Jason Kelce. And Jason Kelce was a huge part of that tush push, which I ran numbers on that. And the tush push alone, on 4th and 1, there were 97 plays where Jalen Hurts snuck the football over the last 3 seasons. Those 97 plays accounted for more rushing EPA with those 97 than every single other team's entire rushing attack over the last 3 years. That's how efficient that play was for the Philadelphia Eagles. If they can get something close to that without Jason Kelce, they'll probably be fine. If that drops off a tremendous amount because Jason Kelce's not there at that spearhead of that tush push along the offensive line, then they could step back there and they're going to have to figure out other ways. But I still think that they are going to win the NFC East because I think the Dallas Cowboys are just a little bit too fragile from a roster build perspective. I don't think they have the depth. I don't think they have the talent as spread out as much. And then we could talk about their defense if you want to, Mike, or if we need to move on. But their defense, they lost their defense coordinator, and they thrived so much on all these takeaways that I don't know if they're going to be able to get those this season. 3 straight years where they were plus 10 in turnover margin or better. That's happened only 8 times in the last 2 decades where a team has gone 3 straight years at plus 10 turnover margin or better. And none of those teams had a double-digit positive turnover margin in that 4th season. And in fact, the average was only plus 4. So if you take away 6 turnover margin difference from the Dallas Cowboys, there's the way they're winning the same number of games in 2024.
Yeah, fair to say. By the way, Eagles right now minus 134 on FanDuel to go over 10.5 wins. The Cowboys set at 9.5 minus 166. Keep in mind, Cowboys are an extremely public team. You can't always just look at what the juice looks like, what the number looks like from day to day. I wanted to focus on your favorite team in the NFL. That's the New York Giants, returning Daniel Jones and Brian Dable and Joe Shane, your favorite triumvirate of NFL personalities. Their win total at 6.5. It's being bet to the under, minus 140. Under 6.5 wins. Do you think they have any chance to get to 7, Warren?
The challenge is their schedule and that offensive line. I mean, that offensive line must do a better job, but it's also Daniel Jones recovering from that ACL. How healthy is he going to be in 2024? And then how frequently is he going to take these sacks? Because this team, their sack margin last year was minus 51. Which is the most in any year that I've tracked. There was no other team that was worse than minus 41 since 2000, as far back as I can go. They have to figure out a way to reduce the pressure on Daniel Jones and reduce the number of sacks that he's taking. This is not just on the offensive line. This is also on Daniel Jones himself. And my fear is that with this ACL injury that he's recovering from, he's not going to be able to get the ball quite as quickly, move around quite as adeptly all throughout the course of the season. That's the only fear that I have with the New York Giants. The roster isn't great. The Washington Commanders have a new quarterback, a new head coach. They're ascending a little bit more. I think the Giants are going to be better than they were last year, but that's not saying much. But that being said, I still think that they've got a lot of work to do in a very competitive NFC East.
Lots of coordinator changes. Warren mentioned both Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore are new. The Giants have a new defensive coordinator. The Cowboys have a new defensive coordinator, and Washington changed everybody. So coaching changes are something to watch in this division. You'll find Warren here all the time on the grid, but go find his NFL preview, chock full of information that you'll need for the 2024 season. Warren, thanks for being on. We'll see you again soon.